Larry King Now, it's Jason Biggs. Are you sick of talking about the scene with you and the pie?
Can I be honest with you?
Please.
I am so thrilled to be here right now talking with you, Larry, about the pie scene.
Sinatra told me this.
What did he say?
People are going to recognize you.
Yeah.
You chose to go into a business in which you would be recognized.
Exactly right.
Why are you mad?
I mean, I know you're saying what Sinatra told you, and I'll tell you what Sinatra told me in a minute, but
Sinatra also told me there's a lot of name dropping in there. Plus, guilty pleasure.
The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
You watch them?
I sure do, and that's why I'm guilty about it. Jeez, because of that reaction.
That's right. All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest, Jason Biggs, an actor best known for his roles in the American Pie franchise and the hit Netflix series Orange is the New Black. And he's back on the big screen with his new film, Amateur Night. It'll be released August 5th in theaters and on demand August 12th. What's it about?
It's a true story. The writer-director team, husband and wife, when they first went to LA, they were struggling, and she was pregnant, and neither of them had work. They needed some money, didn't have insurance, and they answered an ad. He answered an ad to be a driver, not knowing exactly what it entailed. And turned out to be, he was driving women around Los Angeles.
Hookers?
Yeah, exactly, to various engagements around the city. And he ended up doing it for a little while, actually. Ended up being a lucrative little gig for him. All cash, I'm sure.
This is a comedy?
This is a comedy. Our version of the story takes place over the course of one night, which, you know, for comedy and storytelling purposes, is a little more fun. But yeah, it's a true story, believe it or not.
One of your co-stars is Ashley Tisdale, a former Disney star who plays a call girl, right? Mm-hmm. She good?
She's great. Actually, my wife and I were talking about her this morning because she really pops. She's really funny. She's just this, you know, these Disney kids, they like grow up doing this. They have something about them that's just...
They smile.
There's definitely a lot of smile, but they know when to smile. They know, it's just like they're pro, you know, they're just like these little professionals that just sort of
It's instilled. Baby Osmonds.
Baby Osmonds, yeah.
It's instilled.
It's real talent, though, too. I mean, she's really good. And then I guess what happens, you know, you hit a certain point in your career or your life, and you want to sort of break out of the Disney thing a little bit. Now, Ashley's already been doing that for a few years now, but this is probably the most risque, I'm sure.
Walt would flip.
Walt is turning in his grave, right?
Your wife, Jenny Molin, also co-stars, and she plays your wife.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're the guy driving around hookers with the wife at home.
At home, pregnant wife at home.
And you're driving around Ashley.
Exactly. Ashley, Janet Montgomery, and Bria Murphy. And so I drive around, the three of them, for the night. And it was really fun having my wife do it because, you know, first when I came on board the movie, Lisa and Joey, the writer-director team, they told me that they were really big fans of my wife. She's a writer, and
Jenny Molin, right? Jenny
Molin, yeah, and they had read her stuff and loved her and had seen her and I together on some appearances we made together, and they thought it would be kind of a fun and inspired choice to have her do it if she would be interested, because then you have the real husband and wife playing husband and wife, and she came on board.
What was it like to work with her?
It was great. Yeah, I was a little nervous because, you know, we've been sort of reluctant to do things together. We've had some other opportunities, and it was kind of a slow burn before we're married first and foremost, you know, and we want to sort of keep that safe and protect it. And, you know, we're both very strong personalities. We're both very stubborn, and that gets us into plenty of trouble off of a set. You know, at home we have to deal with that in our own way.
You argue a lot.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like any couple, I suppose. But we didn't want that to have to happen, you know, on set. We were just kind of nervous about that.
Did your wife get a hooker for you?
She did. She did.
What, for a birthday?
It was for a birthday.
She's a very liberated woman.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. She we had only been together maybe a year or two, but we kind of had been like talking about doing something kind of crazy and fun, and we had a Vegas trip planned, and so we kind of, I forget who brought the idea up, probably me, but but she decided to move forward with it. And I mean, the truth of the matter, it sounds so sort of, it sounds more scandalous and lascivious than it really was. I mean, the truth is, it became and it's actually in her first book. If anything, it was more for the story than anything else, and it became a wonderful story because everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It just became a sort of a joke.
Well, you know what
anything.
happens in Vegas.
Stays in my wife's books.
You do a radio show together, right? It's a comedy show, I would.
That was kind of our first big. So the last couple of years, we've been flirting with doing something together.
Do you have more an affinity for comedy?
Yeah, definitely. I love doing. I love being serious. I love doing dramatic acting, but there's something about comedy that's just. First of all, it's a special skill, and to make someone laugh, and there's a certain rush that I get, a high that comes from making people laugh.
And nothing like it.
Nothing like it. And also if you ask me to, what do I want to watch, I'd rather sit down and watch something that makes me laugh.
Yeah, when you laugh, all good things happen.
Especially nowadays, it's.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
I mean, yeah. But we have fun doing the show together. It's definitely. It was sort of it was a soft entry into us collaborating, or so we thought. It's a once a week thing, just for an hour. And, we're very open, as you could tell, some of the stories you and I have already talked about, but we're very honest. We like to, exploit our marriage for laughs, because at the end of the day, neither of us take ourselves too seriously, and we're very respectful of our relationship and our family, and we know where the line is that can't be crossed, or so we think. But we're willing to I think go further than most people would, certainly than most married couples would, and I think we have something special together. Like there is something that. She brings out the best in me and vice versa.
You have a son?
Comedically and otherwise. And so...
You have a son?
We have a son, Sid.
You bring him into the discussion?
We bring him into the discussion in a more abstract kind of way.
How old is he?
He's 2.5. We talk about parenting all the time and just, how hard it is. And the foibles and the hilarity that ensues being a parent of a toddler. I mean, it's... and there's constant mistakes being made, and we are willing to sort of share them with the world and exploit them for laughs. And
his name is Sid?
His name is Sid. It's a good name, right?
They don't name him that way anymore.
Thank you. Believe me, my wife and I, we thought about lots of names.
Is it Sydney or Sid?
No, just Sid. Sid Biggs. You could picture him at the track betting on the ponies, right?
Sid Biggs, third race at Delaware. Our guest is Jason Biggs. The film Amateur Night will be out August 5th. Coming up, Jason on his infamous pie scene. He's probably tired of talking about it.
Not with you.
Don't go away. Our guest is Jason Biggs. His new film, Amateur Night, his wife's in it too, is coming August 5th. I love this. At a theater near you. And are you sick of talking about the scene with you and the pie?
Can I be honest with you?
Please.
I am so thrilled to be here right now talking with you, Larry, about the pie scene. I've talked about it for almost 20 years. I've talked about it in every which way.
I have never seen it, so...
I love that. Is that true? I believe that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Why would I lie?
My wife hadn't seen it when we met, and actually didn't see it until about 6 or 7 years into.
So why are you particularly thrilled about talking to me about it?
Because I'm a huge fan of yours.
Oh.
Huge fan of yours.
All right.
I have been for many, many years, Larry.
I'm thrilled.
And I'm thrilled to be here. I just made a post on my social media about this being a bucket list for me. It's true.
In the scene, you make love to a pineapple pie, right?
Yes,
okay,
thank you. This is awesome.
It's followed you your entire career. Okay.
It sure has.
When they proposed it, how did you react?
Well, when I first read it in the script, I laughed hysterically. I thought it was brilliant. This was 1998, and it was kind of the summer of the teen comedy. They had sort of, there were the Porky's and those movies that had happened in the 70s, and then there was a new resurgence of these films, like 15, 20 years later, and I was auditioning for every single one of them. I was new to LA. I read them all, auditioned for them all, would have been thrilled to get any of them, was happy to get a call back for any of them, but would have happily taken any. There was no choosing between offers then.
Of course.
But I read this script, and it definitely stood out from all of the others. And I remember thinking, like, boy, it'd be great to get this one, you know, especially. But obviously, whatever I can get. And I got that one. And I was thrilled going into it, thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna do something. Because I'd never seen anything like that. I had been reading all these scripts that year, nothing was. And so I was like, this is gonna be pretty great. Cut to the day of, I'm calling my manager, freaking out, going, am I really gonna do this? Because what if no one what if this bombs? What if no one sees it? But I'm still the guy that did that, put myself out there in such a crazy way.
You have sex with a pie.
I have sex with a pie, Larry. I know this is the third time you've asked me to
what
confirm
I'm asking
this.
is,
I know,
first,
yeah, this is crazy, right?
What was it like? That's the obvious.
Yeah. It was, well, first of all, it was...
I like apple pie, so...
Yeah, but do you like apple pies, Larry? You know what? The weekend's coming up. We'll touch base next week. I won't just...
Well, for money, a lot of people would do a lot of things.
This is very true.
You knew that once you did this, that it would carry through for years, that you would be...
I had a sense. There was a sense of this from the moment I read this script, because it was so in another planet it so stood out to me. And then gradually it started coming together even more and more. Once we were on set and the cast was assembled and we started doing these scenes and more new stuff started coming and improvising, and Eugene Levy steps in as my father, and all of these sort of
hysterical.
The best. All these magical moments start sort of happening, and there's this buzz even around set that it's like, this could be something kind of cool. But remember also, it was a studio film, but by their standards, this was really small. This was a very small movie. There was, for the first film, there was like no studio executives even came near the set.
But it was a
basically,
hit.
But yeah, and then that changed for all the sequels.
Did it get good reviews, or what made it take off?
The reviews were good. I remember Peter Travers at Rolling Stone loved it, and that was kind of the big, we used that one quite a bit. But the big thing that's sort of the really big thing where we all knew that this was going to be something was they released a Red Band trailer, which at the time was a very big deal. You know, there was no, the internet was just kind of getting going. And so it was in the theaters. You know, you're used to seeing these green things following preview, coming up, and then all of a sudden there's this bright red one. And then it goes into the trailer for our movie and includes a quick clip of me on top of the pie getting caught by Eugene. And so there was some discussion about that, because people were concerned that we were giving away the biggest joke in the movie too soon. It ended up being, everyone was talking about it, going nuts for it. And
like when you signed to do Orange is the New Black, did they say, like when they were talking, the guys running the show, we'll get the guy who made love to the pie? Maybe.
I mean, it's my, you know, Genji Cohen, who created Orange, and I love her for this. She is clear with all of her casting that she wants to think outside the box and cast against type and all this stuff. And so I think it was, in a way, it probably was the fact that I did that helped get me the part, but not for the not for the reasons that I would get other part. You know, it's sort of did the opposite.
Are you going to come back to Orange?
I would. I don't know if I'm going to. The storyline is sort of kind of gone a different way. I mean, it's a women's prison show. I remember signing on for the show, and I was actually wondering where it would go after the pilot. I didn't even know that I would have my character would have any life in the first season. Ended up going 2 seasons with the show. And
you do a lot of theater, right?
Yeah.
What'd you do on Broadway?
Broadway, I've done a couple things. I did, well, in '91, my first big job was a play called Conversations with My Father by Herb Gardner, who wrote I'm Not Rappaport.
I loved Herb. Knew Herb.
The best.
That was a great play.
Great play. It was another 10 years before I did Broadway again. I did some off-Broadway, and then 10 years I came back. I did The Graduate on Broadway. They had adapted it for...
Really?
Yeah, Kathleen Turner played Mrs. Robinson. And then just last year I did The Heidi Chronicles. We did a revival of that.
Wendy Wasserstein?
That's right.
Jason on juggling fame and fatherhood. That's next. Stay with us. We're back with Jason Biggs. He'll star in the new film Amateur Night. His wife's in it, too. You have called fame stressful in the past. You have anxiety about public recognition. Why?
Well, there's a vulnerability, you know, that there's something about being exposed in that way and feeling like eyes are always on you. I mean, obviously I have it to to the degree that I have it, and there are people that have it to a much different degree.
But you've had
I
it
think you're probably one of the most recognizable people in the world. I mean, you must get it all the time. And yet, what I love about you is you're at Nate and Al's every morning, aren't you?
Yeah, but I go to my bagel store. But I'll tell you the truth. Sinatra told me this.
What did he say? This is Chris.
Just be yourself. Just, people are going to recognize you.
Yeah.
You chose to go into a business in which you would be recognized.
Exactly right.
Why you made
I mean,
it.
I know you're saying what Sinatra told you, and I'll tell you what Sinatra told me in a minute. But
Sinatra also told me there's a lot of name dropping in it.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I mean, there's no anger associated with it. It is, but I will say this, and I'm sure you found this, that it being recognized and being famous, it brings out the best in a lot of people, and I have some wonderful exchanges with fans, and it's a terrific thing, and I'm incredibly flattered when I get recognized, because it's, you know, and by the way, the day it goes away is the day I'm really complaining.
I know.
You know, like, I get it. I totally get it and am appreciative of all the support. But it also brings out the worst in people, too. I mean, there is some, you know, and I don't know. I mean, things are probably getting worse because of social media, and but
Taking
there's
pictures with
but yeah, exactly. The pictures, it can be rude, intrusive, and it also just people have expectations as well. I think where if you don't sort of meet them, you know, to what their expectations were, they get angry quick.
Yeah, it's really weird. Dodger Stadium once, a guy came up and says, "Larry, take a picture." I said, "I got to run to the men's room first." Big deal, big shot. I got to go to the bathroom.
I got to go to the bathroom.
Your mother's a nurse, your father's a shipping company manager. Did they encourage your acting?
Yeah. I mean, they were integral in me being able to do this. I started when I was about 5 years old. My older sister, she's about 7 years my senior. When she was younger, she was in this dance group in New Jersey. And a lot of the other, it was pretty, you know, they toured around and did all these shows and stuff. And because of our proximity to the city, a lot of the other girls started going into New York, and they got managers, and their moms started taking them in. And my sister wanted to do it, so my mom was like, you know, okay, sure, if we can get you an agent and you can do commercials and stuff, we'll, you know, sack away some money for college. And when I was 5, I guess my sister's manager, you know, called, said...
Did you do anything at 5?
Yeah, commercials and like modeling stuff, you know.
You must have been a cute little guy.
I was a cute little guy. I was a cute little kid.
We're going to play a game of If You Only Knew, all right? I'll just throw some questions at you. Mm-hmm. Secret talent.
Tap dance, I could do it. Yeah, I could still do a time step with the best of them.
Is there a movie that made you want to be an actor?
Oh boy, you know, I've been doing it for so long that there wasn't one that sort of said that's what makes me wanna do this. But I'm a big Marx Brothers fan, and those guys inspired my sort of comedy growing up, I would say.
Who are you still dying to work with?
Oh boy, the list is so long. It's more filmmakers, I guess, than anything that I.
All right, what director?
Yeah. Wes Anderson.
I figured that. Guilty pleasure.
The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
You watch them?
I sure do, and that's why I'm guilty about it. Jeez, because of that reaction.
That's right. I watch SpongeBob. Anyway, yeah, it's hysterical. Characteristic you value most in others?
Generosity.
What makes you angry?
Impolite people.
What makes you laugh every time?
The Marx Brothers. You know, I was reading about Henny Youngman on the way over here. I don't know why, because I was just doing an interview with my wife earlier, and I almost had an opportunity to make the Henny Youngman joke, "Take my wife, please," and I missed it, and then I got into it, and I got into an internet K-hole reading about Henny Youngman. Did you ever interview him?
Oh, I knew Henny well. Well, of course, I've interviewed 60,000 people.
I know, I mean, of course, but...
Henny his act made no sense. You know, he could go on a little violin.
Violin, yeah.
The jokes, one did not lead into the next.
Right.
Woody Allen thought he was the funniest man ever lived.
Yep.
And he just had this, the doctor says to the guy, "You're going to live till you're 60. The guy says, "I am 60. What did I tell you?" that's Henny. Man comes home, finds his wife in bed with another guy. You know what he said? "Harvey, I have to, but you?"
My wife's such a good cook. She cooks for her king. She cooked for her king. Come here, king. Here, king. Come here.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
It's probably from Judd, actually. Judd actually one time.
Judd Hirsch.
Judd Hirsch, yeah. I don't know. He had this T-shirt printed up for me once. He said, "You take 10, expect 5, you get 3, or you ask for 10, expect 5, you get 3." And I remember I'm 12 years old, going, "Okay, so I got to lower my expectation. All right, fair enough. I get it."
Something we should be paying more attention to.
Oh boy, that's a great question. I don't know. What do you think we should be paying more attention to? Pure deflection right there. It's an old tactic. It's an old interview tactic,
yeah.
Larry. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I'll be, what's wrong with the world? Anyway, what do people get wrong about Hollywood?
The people are always complaining about the people, you know, like, oh, the people in Hollywood. I have some of the best friends and family, and
I think it's a great town.
it's a great town. I think it's a great
What's something people don't know about you?
that I'll obsess. I have an obsessive personality.
So you'll obsess over what?
Anything. It could be that, you know, after this interview, I'll leave and I'll think, what did I say? Did I have some good ones? Did I upset Larry? Did I do a good job? Oh, yeah. Constantly questioning myself.
Next, Jason will take your social media questions. We'll be right back. We're back with Jason Biggs. His new film is Amateur Night. It'll be released August 5th. You're active on Twitter. In the last election, you got some heat. You sent tweets out about Romney and Paul Ryan and their wives.
Yes, sir.
What got you into doing
You know, Twitter for me was originally this sort of outlet to make jokes, as it is for a lot of people. You know, I have a kind of a dark sense of humor, just kind of an edgier sense of humor that I learned. It took a little while and a couple of sort of backlashes. Now, granted, the timing was horrible, and you know, I still think it was a complete overreaction. But what I have since learned is that that's going to happen, and you got to be careful what you put out there, because it will come back, and it's only getting worse. It's only getting more under a microscope, and and it's clickbait too. People need to, you know, there were articles written about a tweet I made, and it's like, you know, back when there were newspapers only, there's no one gives it, but it's, you know, one comment doesn't get any play at all. It dies with the, but this was a lot. It was actually kind of scary a little bit, you know. I mean, because, you know, it was it was because I dared venture into the sort of political zone, and it was, you know, it was very divisive, and people were angry, and it was kind of.
But one thing, it's terrible aspects of social media.
Yeah.
But it does come and go.
Exactly.
Something tomorrow.
Totally. But when you're in it, though, it feels like the worst thing in the world, and it feels like it's never going to go away. You know, no matter how aware I am that it is going to be gone tomorrow, it's still hard. And so, you know, I think Twitter for me was interesting because it was this outlet for me to sort of make jokes, but it was, and I do have this sense of humor, this side to my sense of humor that I think not a lot of people know about. And so Twitter was my sort of way of sort of experimenting with showing that side, and it worked quite well in a lot of, in many ways. You know, people were like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, ha ha ha, this is what a funny, you know.
Talked about the candidates' wives.
Yeah, and then a lot of people were.
You thought it was a low blow?
Yeah, it was. There was those tweets. There was tweets I made, religious tweets, something about, you know, the Pope or so, just joke. And you know, for me, I looked at Twitter as it was a sort of caricature of myself. You know, I didn't go on there and really do political sort of. It was all jokes. It was all meant to be in good fun, and you can't. I mean, it's.
What do you make of the election?
Well, speaking of jokes, yeah, it's. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I think. Yeah, I mean, Trump is just the fear factor is such a. I'm scared of that. I'm scared at how afraid he's making everybody. You know, and it's. And the truth is, like, there are things to be scared about. I get that. But the way he's playing them, it makes me think he's not the guy to be able to sort of deal with it.
We have some social media questions. Teresa Hunt on Twitter. What are your honest thoughts about being written out of the Orange is the New Black series? Miss you a lot.
Oh, that's very nice. I was bummed because I had I went in with, you know, the expectations weren't great for me in terms of where my character would go. It was never supposed to be even past the one season. But then as the writers started to find ways to keep me in, which was wonderful, I started to, you know, have my expectations built, and so it was kind of a sort of, it came out of left field.
You didn't die or
It
anything,
made perfect sense. No, I didn't
just
die or anything, and there's always...
What, your wife went to prison?
She was in prison, but from the very first episode, I'm dropping her off in prison. So I was sort of the windows to the outside world for a little while, but you know, the prison stuff is where the meat of the story is, and that's where the best stuff is, and that's what everyone is responding to. So, yeah.
Bobby Nelson on Facebook. You've been a vocal critic of SeaWorld. What's the #1 thing you want people to know about the company?
Well, about the company specifically, I mean, I don't know. It's more I want those animals released to sanctuaries. I mean, I don't have many causes. I don't get too political, or at least I try not to. But that's something that and look, admittedly, you know, I'm not. I eat meat. You know, I can be hypocritical. We all can. You know, absolutely, I get it. But I think we're going to look back in 20 years, 30 years. We're going to look back on what we did to these animals, these beautiful, huge animals, keeping them in these little bathtubs to live out their life and breeding them in just the worst conditions ever. We're going to look back on that the way we look back on someone like smoking in a car with the windows up and the kids in the back seat. We're going to be like, I know you thought that was okay, but that was actually really ridiculous, right? You know.
Yeah, well said. Johnny Von Golden on Twitter wants to know, what was your most memorable aspect of working with Woody Allen?
I was in this movie, anything else, yeah. I mean, every day was something else with Woody. I mean, he was a trip. One day, so we're shooting in September, and we're about 3 weeks into filming, and the Jewish high holidays are coming up. And it's, I think, Thursday or Friday, and there's a little break between filming, and Woody turns to me and he says, so what are you doing for the holidays? And at that point, it hit me, because I could tell by the way he was asking. It hit me that he didn't know I wasn't Jewish at that point. And I quickly started doing the calculations in my head, because Woody has been known to fire people, and he can be very fickle, and he's also not afraid to do it. And I started going through the numbers in my head. I was like, okay, have we filmed enough to where if I'm honest with him and I say, oh, I have no plans, I'm not Jewish, where if he gets taken aback and wants to fire me, you know, have we shot enough to where he can't fire me? Or should I just lie? I told him the truth, and I was like, yeah, I have no plans, I'm not Jewish. And he couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it, but was you know, obviously fine with it. But then I was the butt of the joke every day. He would come in and be like, and this guy was not Jewish, and you know, just couldn't believe. Every day was another comment. Just couldn't believe that I wasn't.
Did you like working for him?
I did. Ultimately, I was very nervous at first. Nervous to the point where, you know, I thought I was going to be, because he doesn't sugarcoat anything, which in hindsight is a wonderful, can be a wonderful thing. You know, we're as actors especially, and you know, so used to getting, you know, taken care of, or just, you know, even just any sort of director, you know, you come in, you lead with the good, right? You go, that was really good, I liked this, but why don't we try this next time? You know, do that differently, maybe we can. And Woody would just come in and be like, I didn't like it. That was pretty bad. That's, you know, I could use this take, we could put it in the movie, but then your parents are going to be sitting next to you at the premiere. They're going to fall asleep right when this scene comes on. Literally said that to me once.
You work with him again?
I would work with him again, I think. Yeah, I mean, you know.
Why not?
Why not? He's Woody Allen.
Thank you.
And you're Larry King. And I am thrilled to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank my guest, Jason Biggs. And don't forget, Amateur Night premieres August 5th. I'll be there. In theaters and on demand August 12th. As always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time.